Hey everyone, it's Warriors NRL Fanatics here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel tonight. Joining me as a special guest for the very first time on this channel, actually, and he's the Parra. His name's Troy, and he runs the Parra Cave podcast. It's a Parramatta Eels podcast. So yeah, it's great to have Troy on the channel tonight, and we're going to preview this week's clash. The Parramatta Eels taking on the One New Zealand Warriors down there at Combank Stadium on Saturday night. Hopefully, the conditions are a lot better than the game against the Rabbitohs in Auckland. So fingers crossed it's a nice night in Sydney and we can get some dry weather footy. But Troy, welcome to the channel for the very first time. It's good to have you on, and I'm a big fan of what you do and your content as well, and what you do with your podcast. So it's great having you on.
Thank you very much for the introduction and having this chat and the kind words there. And thank you for following the podcast. And as you said, looking forward to this game on Saturday night against the Warriors.
Yeah, it's going to be a really very interesting game, because look at these two teams and their form this year. I know Parramatta have had a pretty slow start to the year, but their form has been very good lately. They're scoring a ton of points. Obviously, this game is really Origin affected, with a few of your boys playing for New South Wales next week for State of Origin Game 3. But still, nonetheless, I think it's going to be a real good game. And just before we get into the preview, I'll just pop into the live chat to see who has joined us. So we got the Clove stuff here. Evening, everyone. So hello to the Clove stuff. It's good to see you in the live chat there. So, we'll get underway here. We'll start off with just first we'll get to know Troy and the Parra Cave podcast. So we'll ask him some questions in regards to, how he became a fan and all that sort of stuff. I like to generally get to know the fan first before, getting all into the whole thing. So Troy, just starting off with the question here, regards to how you became a Parramatta Eels supporter. So, did you start supporting them when you were a child, or did you grow up being a rugby fan from the beginning? So, how did you become a Eels supporter?
Yeah, so I started following the Eels when I was 8 years old. So, funnily enough, that was 1986, the last time that Parramatta won the premiership. Their fourth premiership in the 80s. And the way that I discovered them was Mum and Dad were together at that point, and Dad used to have a mate who used to live in Guildford, which is a suburb of Western Sydney, and he supported the Parramatta Eels. Mum and Dad weren't really not Parramatta fans, but they weren't really sports fans. They watched Origins and grand finals, but didn't really follow rugby league or massively any sports. But he did. So he was the one that talked about Parramatta when he came around and visited Dad every week and just to hang out. So I guess as an 8-year-old kid, it sort of stuck in my head that maybe Parramatta might be the team to support. Funnily enough, I live in Penrith, so a Parramatta fan living in Penrith is quite interesting. So, I just thought Parramatta were the team to follow, and picked them then in '86, and when I was 8, and still supporting them today.
Yeah, that's awesome, because obviously, Parramatta, they've been in the comp for quite a while actually, and with Parramatta, obviously they're similar to the Warriors in a way, although they've won premierships, we haven't. But look, I think in a way that they've had some highs and lows as well, especially. But who was the player that you idolized growing up, like a past player? Who was one of your favorite past players you idolized watching as an Eels fan?
Yeah, so growing up in those early days, obviously from '86, it was Sterlo. He was my favourite player.
Yep.
Growing up, had my first Eels jersey, had number 7 on the back, and he used to do those diving passes and stuff like that, like Sterlo used to do. And then He retired in the early 90s. Then there was a few players here and there throughout the lean times of the early 90s. But then Hindy came on the scene in 98 and just followed his career. So in terms of past players, probably Sterlo and Hindy, they were definitely the two favourite players. I didn't really see much of the premiership winning players in their heyday. So your Ray Price, Mick Cronins, even Steve Ellers and Eric Grove Senior and Brett Kenny. I used to watch more of their highlights later on in life to know how they played. But yeah, great players they are. But some of the '90s players, you got your Scott Mann, you got your David Woods, Danny Krankovic as well. There were a couple of few others, Michael Butner as well, that were running around in the day. A New Zealander, Stewie Galbraith, he used to play for Parra, and he was good value when he played. So some of them, Lee Odenryan as well, who played for the Warriors back in the day as well after he played for Parramatta. So yeah, there were a few of them. So, but yeah, in terms of the two favourites, it was Sterlo and then Hindy.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about a current player right now? Like, who would you say is your favourite current Eels player at the moment?
Yeah, look, very tough. I mean, obviously, a lot of people have got their favourites, like your Gutho and your Mitchell Moses. They're probably the highest ranking favourite players of fans. But I'm a really big fan of Will Penasini.
Yep.
I think he's come a long way in his couple of years that he's been at the club and in first grade. I think he's got a massive future in the game. Surprisingly, he wasn't spoken about for a State of Origin game number 3 for New South Wales, but he's played international football for Tonga in the World Cup last year. But yeah, he's one player that sort of really excites me at the moment as a current player in this side.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, look at the Eels, and the Eels have had success back in the 1980s, winning 4 premierships, 5 minor premierships, but haven't tasted success in a long time. Now, going through, was it 2009? I believe was your golden era there. Back then, what were your memories of 2009, that grand final?
Yeah, so that grand final was probably a grand final that Parramatta probably weren't expected to be in.
Yeah,
And when I say that, they came from 8th position to make that grand final. So halfway sort of through the year, they came from about 14th or 15th on the ladder. So they had to win pretty much every game from then on. From about halfway on in the season, they could only drop maybe 1, maybe 2 games. So they got on a run. Obviously, Jared Hayne was there. He won the Dally M that year. He and the rest of the team, they just had a great sort of. There was a great offload game, I thought, backing each other men up, and they scored some great tries that year. They just believed in themselves, and they went on that run. They got into the finals. They played St George in the last round. They got smashed 30-0. They played them again in the first round of the finals. They won 25-12. And then the march went on from there. I think they played the Gold Coast next, and then they played, I think, Canterbury in the prelim final of that year, which was a massive game. I think it's the biggest club finals crowd. I think there was about something like 75,000 at what's called a core stadium now.
yeah,
And then the grand final. So not a lot of us, or not a lot of rugby league people expected Parramatta to be there, but they got there. Unfortunately, they didn't get the job done that day. I was more
yeah.
disappointed in the 2001 grand final loss against Newcastle because we were favourites that day and should have won that game.
Yeah, so obviously, you've had those periods as well, but Parramatta, originally played down at there at the Pertex Stadium, for quite a few years, and then you guys decided to, open a new stadium, build a new stadium, which is now known as Combank Stadium. What were your thoughts back then of Pertex Stadium? Watching Eels games there, and to now where you guys are now playing at the new stadium. What are your thoughts now?
Yeah, so I always thought that Parramatta fans were smart fans for burning down the stadium back in 1981 when we won our first premiership
Yep.
because of that happening. They built Parramatta Stadium, and that was a world class ground for its time. It was around for about 30 years. It was it was where finals games were played, playoffs for fifth were played, the midweek cup finals were played. There was a couple of test matches played there as well. It was world class. Two stands on each side, hills on
Yep.
the end, and then a few seated ends later on in life. But then the decision, I think it was 2016 was their last game there, and 2017-18 played at a core stadium for 2 years while Combank was built. And Combank Stadium, in my opinion, and probably a lot of people will say that I'm biased, but I think that's the best rectangular stadium in Australia. Just it's got the steepest stands of any stadium, so you're closer to the action, which is great. You can hear the hits, you can hear the players talk on the field. It's got great lights, and it's a great atmosphere. It holds 30,000. Even if you would have 10,000 in there, you could still get some noise in there, and it's a great atmosphere. So yeah, I just love going to Combank Stadium every opportunity I get to go there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. It's great to see. As apologies, guys, I'm having a few problems with my computer. As my laptop's just randomly switched off. But yeah, I'll try and fix that up. But look, in regards to the past couple of years, what are your thoughts now to the Eels right now to back then? Because you guys made the grand final. Was back in last year. You guys made the grand final that year. That was your first grand final appearance in a very long time, and you came up against a very tough Penrith side. Penrith have won a premiership in the previous year, beating Souths, and then obviously making the grand final again last year. What were your thoughts on that year last season? Was it a missed opportunity for you guys, or did you feel like it was a year where you exceeded expectations because you guys weren't? Maybe a lot of people weren't expecting Parramatta to be in that grand final.
No, you're right. A lot of people didn't think that Parramatta were going to make the grand final. Certainly, a lot of the experts were thinking that Parramatta weren't going to make the grand final. I think we sort of came out of nowhere. I think the players believed in themselves, and we'd made finals every year since 2017, except for 2018.
Yeah.
But we'd made finals. We'd had that week 2 hoodoo where we'd go out in straight sets 2 weeks in a row in the final. So we had to beat that. I thought if we made the prelim final last year, that would probably be a successful year, considering, as I said, we've been out in straight sets the last time we'd made top 4 in the competition, ever since we made the semi-final since 2017. So that was a challenge to get through to the prelim final, and then we beat the Cowboys up there at Townsville in that game, which was an amazing game, and an amazing feeling to be there at Parramatta Leagues Club and watch the game with all the Parra fans, and it was quite an emotional night, that one. But yeah, to make the grand final, I was pretty pretty confident we could beat the Panthers. We'd beaten them twice in the regular season. Some would say that, but in the second game, Nathan Cleary was sent off for his dangerous tackle. But even still, we got that victory. So I was pretty confident we'd get the win, although we didn't have the best of games round one of the finals, where Penrith sort of touched us up a little bit in that second half of that final and got the win there. I was confident in that game too, but I think, going into the game, I was pretty confident. Look, I think for the first 10, 15 minutes, I think we were right in that game. But then Penrith's experience in big games and grand finals just really took hold, and their experience in those big games took over, and they sort of bashed us a little bit in the forwards. Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris were on fire that day. They scored the tries and got the victory. We came back a little bit late in that second half, but obviously it wasn't to be. All the points had been scored by the Panthers already, so disappointing to lose. Wasn't devastated, but still a massive achievement to make the grand final.
Yeah, it was. I think you guys, you guys came. I mean, you came up against a very tough side. I think Penrith. We know Penrith have got such talent on paper and that, and I think Parramatta, they felt that maybe they were disappointed with the result. Obviously, you'd be disappointed to lose the grand final, but I think you can consider that year was a success for you guys. Considering that you guys haven't been near the grand final over the past couple of years, but you guys have had some years where you've been close in finals. With Brad Arthur, what are your thoughts on Brad Arthur actually as a coach? I know, he's probably the longest-serving Eels coach now, isn't he? He's broken that sort of record for the longest-serving Eels coach. What are your thoughts on Brad Arthur?
Yeah, no, he certainly is the longest-serving Eels coach. I think a few weeks ago, I think it might have been against them in the Manly game before Origin 2, or the game before, he broke that record. Brian Smith held that record before. I think it was 246 games, I think, by memory. Look, Brad is a lot of people do bag Brad as a coach. He does have his moments. Sometimes I think even sometimes I get frustrated with him as well. To be honest, just with sometimes the team selections that he makes. Sometimes players I think might have done a better job, or maybe could do a better job, or especially during those times where you do lose games in a row and you need a bit of a change. It'd be like, can we get some players in there, different players in there? But he's a very loyal coach. He's a good development coach. Definitely with obviously 3 Origin players in this next Origin game coming up, and we've had numerous Origin players over the last 3-4 years for sure. So Ryan Madison, Nathan Brown, obviously RCG Junior, Gutho, Moses. So he's a good development coach. He gets along a lot with his players, majority of his players, and I think he's turned the sort of club around, especially from that dark days of 2016 with the salary cap dramas that we had. Sort of held the club together. He was sort of the face of the club at the time, and from 2017 we just made finals, obviously except for that 2018 year, but since then we've been a reasonable success. He's going to have to maybe try and just top off that success by winning a premiership.
Yeah. And what are your overall thoughts on the season so far, being this year? You guys, if you looked at last year, obviously a lot of people expected you guys to be sitting right sort of the top 4 at the moment, but you guys had a slow start. you guys have generally found some form recently, and you guys are now sitting in the top 8. So, what are your thoughts on your season so far, Troy? What are your thoughts on Parramatta's season? It's been a slow one, but you're relatively building now to the form that you guys showed last year when you were in the grand final.
Yeah, as you said, it was a slow start. There was a few close losses in big games at the start of the year, and probably just shows you the closeness of this year's competition as well.
Yep.
I guess you're a grand final team from the year before, so everyone steps it up against you
Yeah.
because they want to try and knock you off. But look, we've had a tough. Some would say that we've had a tough draw as well. I think
Yep.
the first 3-4 weeks it was a Thursday night game. We've had no buys before Origins. So that's one thing to throw in. We played 3 teams coming off a bye in 3 weeks. I think it was the Panthers, Roosters, and Manly. But you do have to play everyone in front of you anyway, regardless. You've got to beat them all. You're right, we've won our last 5 games. Started with a win against South Sydney, who have been our sort of bogey side the last few years. We haven't had a good record against them, so it was good to get the win against them. It's a different year to last year. This year we've had injuries and suspensions to key players, and currently we've got the Dylan Brown suspension as well. So
Yep.
it's a very different year to last year. But you're right, we're sort of building right at the right time of the year. We've got some tough games coming up, a lot of big games away from home, but hopefully that holds us in good stead coming into the finals in 2023.
Yeah, so we'll get into the whole preview now of the game. So we'll go through the team list. So yeah, look, I'll go. Actually, no, I'll get you to go through the Parramatta Eels side. That's seeing as you're the guest. So I'll get you to go through the Eels team first, then I'll go through the UA side and the Warriors. So Troy, can you go through the Eels team for me?
Yeah, not a problem. So at fullback, Sean Russell, Mike Acevo, who's playing his 100th NRL game, is on the wing. Will Penasini, Bailey Simonson in the centres. Isaac Lumi comes in on the wing. Ryan Madison and Dijon Arcee in the halves. In the forwards, Offa Hickey Ogden, Brennan Hands, Junior Paolo, Bryce Cartwright, Andrew Davey, Jermaine Hopgood. On the bench, we've got Luca Moretti, Joe Offahengawi, Sean Lane returns from injury, and Makahisi Makatoa. So there's the Parramatta squad.
Awesome. So we'll go through the Warriors team here. So Chance to Klug start fullback, Darlin Watini-Zelezniak on the wing. Centres is Rocco Berry and Adam Pompey. Marcelo Montoya on the other wing. Luke Metcalf is 5'8" with Sean Johnson halfback, who has been named, which is very interesting. Adam Fanua-Blake is prop, and hooker is Wade Egan. Bunty Afai, the other prop. Second row of Jackson Ford and Mitchell Barnett. And Tohu Harris, the captain and the lock. Dylan Walker on the bench, Bailey Serenen, Tom Ale, and Freddie Lussick, with the reserves being Braden Williami, Ronald Volkman. Look, I think there is a chance that Ronald Volkman may come into the side, with Sean Johnson expecting his wife is expecting a second child. So I'm not too sure if Sean Johnson will be playing, but he has been named, so it's very interesting there. But obviously, there's been a lot of rumours whether he'd be playing this week, and I'm a bit surprised at his name, but there's a chance that he could be a late inclusion because laid out for us with obviously the game's been Saturday, so there's still a chance that he could be not playing this week. But yeah, the reserves there, Ron Volkman may come in, so we've got Kalani going, Zion Mo and Tane Tuapiki there. So that's the Warriors side. So yeah, what are your thoughts there, Troy, on the Eels team this week? You've got a few outs, being with Clinton Gufferson playing Origin for New South Wales, and you got Mitchell Moses and Regan Campbell-Gillard out as well. But you've got Sean Lane back in the side as well. Huge in. Sean Lane's I
Yeah.
think he's one of the most underrated sort of forwards for you guys, actually. You've got the likes of Isaac Lumi playing on the wing there. So, well, what are your thoughts there on the Eels team, and what are your thoughts on the opposition side, the Warriors, and who they've named?
Yeah, well, to start with Parramatta, obviously there's three big outs there. Obviously, the Origin players.
Yep,
Probably Clint Gutherson was a bit of a surprise um, inclusion in the New South Wales squad.
yep,
We were probably thinking Parramatta were probably thinking that he'll be playing fullback. Um, we also thought that Junior Paolo would be playing Origin as well, but he got dropped. So it's good to have him in the forward pack and captain. I think our forward pack is pretty strong. It's relatively the same forward pack we probably run on to a club game with, obviously with the exception of RCG. Uh, so it's relatively the same forward pack, which is good to have. The halves, Madison and RC, though, well, they got the job done against Manly. Last time Mitchell was in Origin for game 2, so it'll be interesting to see how they go again against a Warriors team who have been playing some pretty good footy this year. So hopefully they can get the job done again. Sean Russell at fullback is going to be interesting. He does play fullback.
yep,
There was some thoughts that maybe Bailey Simonson might go to fullback and then bring in another centre, but that wasn't to be. Lumi, he hasn't played first grade, I think since round 1, so he's been playing New South
yep.
Wales Cup, so he might be someone that's targeted by the Warriors for sure. Overall, I think the Parramatta side is as I said, not too bad. The forwards pretty much speak for themselves. The backs probably Lumi might be a bit questionable. Sean Russell, he's played mostly on the wing, but be interested to see how he handles fullback. For the opposition, well, they have pretty much unchanged lineup from last week.
Yeah.
They're not really affected ever by Origin. So yeah, the big question is, as you said, whether Sean Johnson will play. If he doesn't play, that's a massive out for the Warriors, for you guys. Adam Fanua-Blake, he's been playing some good footy lately. He's shown he's a little bit of a ball playing front rower as well. So just have to watch him. I think maybe if we can get under the skin of Mitchell Barnett, he might let a few penalties go here and there, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think, you got Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. He's been scoring tries left, right, and centre. The flying mullet there and the wing. And Dylan Walker, he adds a little bit off the bench as well, a little bit of experience and spark. And you guys have got a lot of milestone games as well being played this week. So a lot of motivation to get the victory.
Yeah, so just looking at your guys' team. So look, I mean, there's a lot of outs. I think personally for you, and I think the interesting, obviously, no Gufferson, Moses, and Campbell Gillard. They're massive outs for Parra this week. So your spine is going to be tested. I see you've got Ryan Madison named there at 5'8", which well, what are your thoughts? Has Ryan Madison played any 5'8" in his junior footy, or?
Yeah, he played a bit in his junior football, in his junior days.
Yep.
He has played a little bit for the Tigers and Parramatta at 5'8", but not a lot. He did play that last game against Manly when Mitchell was in Origin at 5'8", so he does have a little bit of experience there. He's got a little bit of a kicking game, obviously not your big kicks downfield, but certainly a short kicking game as well. And we all know he's a pretty good defender as well.
Yeah, and I've just reading a comment here. So the closest saying here, Madison has started at 5'8" when he was at the Roosters. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
he's played there as well. Yeah, at the Roosters.
Yep, and TJC Sports, the Parra fan as well. He's saying going to be tough for Parra Johnson not playing. Will be a massive gift for the Eels. So yeah, it'll be a huge out for us. So we've got a young player in Ronald Volkman to come in, but obviously he's not experienced. So that'll be interesting there. So just also I think with the Eels side, obviously you've got um, I see Junior Paulo's been named there. So Junior Paulo, he's a key for your four pack. What do you think there on Junior Paulo? How do you reckon he's been going this year?
Yeah, look, he's been going okay this year. Made the first two Origin sides. Um, didn't
Yep,
get selected for this one, so I think he'll be fired up to just show the selectors that he probably should have been picked for Game 3. Obviously, for New South Wales, it would have been good for New South Wales to have Junior and RCG as front row partners. But along with Leota and Fisher Harris, I think Paolo and RCG have been the top front rowers in the game the last couple of years anyway. Definitely last year, but look, he'll be fired up for a big game. He has he served I think a 2 match suspension a while back,
yep.
um, which he didn't last year. But yeah, no, he's a big game player. He'll be wanting. The Warriors pack is pretty big, and his clash with Adam, he'll want to get over the top of Adam Fanil-Blake for sure. That battle there is going to be a cracker.
Yeah, and looking into the bench now, who would you say if you looked at each of the team's benches here? You look at Paras and the Warriors. Who do you say has the better bench? Obviously, I see we'll go through. So you've guys got Luca Moretti, Joe Offengawi, Sean Lane, and Maxi Makatoa, and we've got Dylan Walker, Bailey Sirinen, Tom Arlen, Freddie Lussick. Who do you think's got the better bench out of you guys? And I think Joe Offengawi, didn't he come from the Tigers? He was one of the your mid-season sort of signings here. Well, how do you think he's going going?
Yeah, he got injured the first time he played for us, but yeah, he's mid-season signing from the Tigers. He looked impressive last start against the Dolphins. Coming off the bench, some would say maybe he should have started this game instead of Ogden, because Ogden and Paolo are very similar, big forwards. Some would say Joe might have started the game, but he's on the bench. Might be a late change there, but look, in terms of the benches, I don't really know much about Tom Harley. I don't know how he goes. Obviously, you think probably Freddie Lussick could probably be a bit of Wade Egan coverage there. As I said, Dylan Walker can be a little bit explosive off the bench as well. Bailey Sirinen, he can score tries. But yeah, I think probably Parramatta's got the better bench. Obviously, maybe the more experienced bench. Luca Moretti, number 14. He's a New South Wales Cup player. He's played a couple of first-grade games this year. He looks promising. And then the return of Sean Lane, so he'll be wanting to rip in.
Yeah, and just going through a comment in the live chat, the close stuff. He's saying Parra probably had the slightest better bench. I don't understand having Lussick there, to be honest. So yeah, it's very interesting actually. Regards to Lussick, and I think with Andrew Webster and his bench, he's been getting the bench quite right in terms of rotation this year. But I think last week against South, so it was the first time I've questioned his sort of bench rotation, like just the way he selects his, the way he's used his bench last week. So, I think that's probably the first time. But yeah, look, in regards to I look at our side. It's it's unchanged pretty much. So really, it's not no shocks, no surprises. Obviously, the only one is Sean Johnson, being that there was a lot of rumours that he may not play this game, but he may be the late inclusion. He may be the late out for us. So I think Ronald Volkman will definitely come in for Sean Johnson if he doesn't play. But looking at the milestones, we've got a few players making milestones this week. So Sean Johnson, if he does play, he'll be playing his 200th. match for the Warriors. So his club debut was back in 2011. He'll become the 5th player to appear in 200 matches for the Warriors, with Simon Mannering, Stacey Jones, Manu Vatuvei, and Ben Marolino. So that's if he does play this week. But we've also got another milestone as well. Another player's got a milestone, and it is Dylan Walker, who's playing his 200th career game on Saturday, and Adam Fanua-Blake as well. He started his career at the Seagulls back in 2016, and he will be playing his 150th game this week also. And then you got Wade Egan, who will be playing his 100th game for, I think it's the 100th game for the Warriors, 100th game for the club this week. So, yeah, quite a few milestones.
I think it's his 100th NRL game. Obviously, started off at the Panthers.
100th overall, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Mike Acevo has also got 100 games this weekend in the NRL. So obviously, a few milestone games there. Obviously, 1 for us, 4 for you guys. But players always seem to step up for milestone games because they will really want to get the victory. So a bit unusual for a team to have 4 milestone games. Usually you have maybe 1, maybe 2, but you guys have got 4. So that's a huge milestones in the Warriors side.
Yeah, so just looking into the key matchups now for this game, which one are you looking at for the most matchup that you're looking out for in terms of, maybe it'd be a forward pack or, the outside backs? What sort of battle are you excited for in this game?
Yeah, look, as I said before, probably Junior Paolo against Adam Fanua-Blake. I think the 2 big men there on either side. That'll be a good battle. I think, just 2 big men. They'll want to get the better of each other. Will Penasini as well in the centres. He'll want to keep on going. So Rocco Berry's going to have an interesting task against him. We can see Will Penasini bump off players and score tries. So he's coming of age. Probably the Junior Paolo Fanua-Blake matchup is probably the big one. The big blokes in the middle for me.
Yeah, I'll probably say the forward pack. You got an AFB there. You've also got Junior Paulo. So that's going to be a mouth-watering sort of clash to look out for. You got Jackson Ford, Bryce Cartwright. How's Bryce Cartwright been going for you guys like this year? How's he been going?
Yeah, this season he's probably had one of his best seasons that he's had in a long time. He's done some offloads, he's done some try assists, I think he's having a great season. He's had to fill in for Sean Lane for most of the year, with Sean having a broken jaw in a trial game and then a hamstring injury. So I think he's had to fill in for most of the year for Sean Lane. So he's had to step it up, and he's had a great season, Bryce.
Yeah, and the close stuff's saying Paulo versus AFB and Egan versus Handsome. Yeah, well, what are your thoughts on Brendan Hands there? He's been doing the job for you, hasn't he? Obviously you signed Josh Hodgson, but he's been out with injury this year. What are your thoughts on Brendan Hands? He's a very good young player coming through, isn't he? He's doing the job for you.
Yeah, we saw at the start of the year with himself and Josh Hodgson when Brendan Hands came on and added a little bit of spark, a little bit of speed around the ruck as well. I think he can play in the halves as well, so he's got a little bit of a kicking game. He hasn't really shown that much of his kicking this year. Obviously, he probably doesn't have to with Mitchell there, but certainly a lot of Parra fans say that he should be the starting hooker even when Hodgson is fit. so that may come into play at the back end of the year. Maybe Hodgson might be on the bench when he does come back. He might not come back. You don't know. But I've been very impressed with Brendan Hands this year. Scored a try as well on his against Penrith, I think it was his old club. He's certainly maybe the future number 9 at Parramatta for a few more years ahead.
Yeah, and the close stuff is just saying in regards to with Marnie gone, Hands seems to be the future 9. So, yeah, when Reid Marnie when Reid Marnie left the club, I felt that was one of the biggest outs, biggest losses going into this year. What do you reckon on that? Because Reid Marnie, obviously, he went over to the Dogs, and he's had some good years with you guys. But what were your thoughts? Were you a bit worried about the hooker's spot going into this year, or?
Look, it was all it probably was. I probably was disappointed that he did go to the Bulldogs. But I guess at the end of the day, it was Reid's decision. He wanted to go there. Rumours and reports that he went to the Bulldogs for more money than what Parramatta were offering. So he chased the dollar, and went over there. He probably hasn't had the success that he's had at the Bulldogs that he had at Parramatta. The comment there, he's struggled this season. I don't know if he rues that decision of going to the Bulldogs, but it was obviously a little bit of a worrying time when he did leave, and Hodgson signed mid last year, I think it was, with the club. So it was a little bit of a concern, a little bit of a worry with how he would go coming back from 2 knee reconstructions, and at his age as well. So we just thought, well, Marnie's gone to the Dogs. We've got Hodgson. We'll see how that goes. And now Hodgson's injured, and we've got Brendan Hand. So it's sort of gone 3 ways.
Yeah, and like I think, regards to what Marnie did for you guys for so many years, I think he did a pretty good job, and he was a very good number 9 for you guys, a real good hooker. And obviously he's gone now, but He
was almost thought of for State of Origin for Queensland, until he suffered an injury, a shoulder injury, I think it was. So he was on the radar for that, but I think he's sort of fallen off the radar a little bit at the moment.
Yeah. So just look into the key battles for me. Obviously, I'm just looking out for the forward pack. I think the forward pack. And the wingers actually are really interesting. You got Sevo and Dullen there, DWZ, who's having a really good season. I thought last week probably was one of his quietest games, but driven the conditions and that, it wasn't easy for the team as well. So look out for DWZ and Sevo. Hopefully it's a dry track. I'm not too sure what the weather's doing over there in Sydney at the moment. So
today it was a rainy old day in Sydney town, but I think on Saturday, I think we're expecting some fine conditions, sunny weather during the day and a nice night. So 5:30 p.m. it should be relatively warm. I mean, it is winter time, but it's not going to be freezing at 5:30. So hopefully, some fine conditions.
Yeah, and the betting prices. Just looking at the betting prices for Sportsbet here in Australia. Have the Eels at $2.33, the Warriors $1.61. What are your thoughts on those odds there?
Yeah, well, I think they're probably about right, to be honest. I think because we've got those Origin players out, is a big loss. I think maybe if Gutho was still playing for Parramatta this week, those odds might be a little bit different. But they're probably about right, I'd say.
Yep. So just reading close stuff saying Lumi will be targeted big time under the high ball. Yeah, if Sean Johnson's playing, there'll be a ton of kicks from Sean Johnson, a few bombs there, targeted on that side for for the Eels. But Sevo is a dangerous player that we've got to look out for as well, because when Sevo's on, he generally is a try scorer for you guys. So
He is. He just needs to keep his arms down uh, when he's running
yeah.
the ball. So he's been caught for that a few times this year. So I think the next one will be a suspension. So he's just got to keep his arms down.
Yep, yeah, and just want to look into the stats now. So, you got the head-to-head stats here. The Eels have won 25, and the Warriors have won 16. And yeah, they played 41 times since 1998. Last meeting was last year. Parramatta Eels 28, Warriors 18, round 18, 2022. And the other encounter was back in 2021. And the Warriors actually won 34-18, which is really interesting there. But look at the other stats here. So we've got points scored for the Eels. They're doing very well in this department so far. Parramatta are scoring 440. The Warriors are 346. Points conceded, Eels 308 to the Warriors 304. Average points scored for the Eels 27. And the win record at your ground there at CommBank Stadium at 63%. The Warriors haven't won a encounter there at CommBank, so 22%, which is not great at all. What are your thoughts on that? Actually, what are your thoughts on those stats? You're generally very strong at CommBank Stadium in your home ground there.
Yeah, it is. I think the last time I can remember, and it's probably wrong, but the last time I can remember Parramatta and Warriors playing there was, I think, 2019 with Sevo palming off Blake Ashford. We've probably played there since, but in fact, I think we played there last year. But I think it's probably right. I think we try and have it as a little bit of a fortress. As in any team, you want to win your home games at your home stadium. If you can win all your home games at home, then you got a good chance of making the finals, because you're going to probably jag a few away games victories as well. So it's been 2 weeks, I think it is, since we've played at home. So the boys will be keen to get back there in front of the home crowd and hopefully get a good victory.
Yeah, and obviously going into this game, Parramatta currently sits sixth. They're sitting sixth on the ladder at the moment. You've had your buys. Then you've got the Warriors coming into this game. We're sitting in eighth. So it's pretty much, both teams will want to get a win here, because we know how close the comp is at the moment. The NRL being very close between the second, third, fourth, sixth, seventh, and eighth sides. So, this is for me, a very important game that we need to get a win in. And this Eels team, obviously, you've got players out as well. You've still got some handy players as well right in at the moment, but this is a game where the Warriors need to look at an opportunity to win this. But obviously, when we played the Broncos back in Napier, New Zealand, Brisbane were missing some Origin players as well, and they came over on top of us. So, what are your thoughts, Troy? What are your thoughts on overall? How do you think the game's going to go? Do you think this is going to be a high-scoring sort of game, or do you think it's going to be a low-scoring game? What do you reckon your boys? How your boys are going to go in this one with the players out? Do you think you can get the job done here?
Yeah, well, sometimes having players out can be a good thing, because the opposition just doesn't know much about the players coming in. So, and those players that are coming in sometimes want to step it up to keep that spot, even though they probably won't, because they're replacing representative players, but they just want to make a name for themselves as well. So they really want to step up. So, look, I think there's going to be probably 40 plus points scored in this game. I think I don't think we're going to see a blowout. I think we're going to see a close game between these two sides. We know that they can both score points. Defense is probably a little bit off at times. can let in a few points, but I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be probably a 1-12 game.
Yep.
So I think it'd be 40 plus, but a 1-12. Hopefully a victory to Parramatta.
Yep, and the close stuff just ran its coming here. The next few weeks will be a challenging one for the Warriors. Then we've got a favourable run home. Yeah, exactly right. That's why I believe that if we win this week's game, we've got two very tough games at home. We've got the Raiders and we've got the Sharks, and then with the bye followed with the Gold Coast Titans as well away from home. So yeah, we need to start getting a couple wins, string a few together. So we can cement ourselves inside that top 8 before the final bye of the season. So for me, look, in regards to this one, look, I personally believe we can bounce back here. I'm backing the boys all the way here, and I don't expect this to be an easy game. Even though the Eels got some players out, I still think this will be tough. You're playing at home in front of your home fans. You're coming off the bye as well, fresh as well. You guys will want to have a big performance at home, and I think for us, it's our record away from home actually hasn't been too bad this year, which is
it's surprising, isn't it?
Yeah, something you're not prone to knowing as a Warriors fan, and going over to Australia and winning games, which is something that the Warriors have struggled for a couple of years. We've won games against Cronulla. We came back actually in that game. We beat the Raiders in Canberra as well, which is not an easy task to do. So, Look, I think although our record in Sydney over the Eels is not great, it's still I feel like this team can, go there and get the job done. So, what do you think? What is your prediction for this one? What are you saying in terms of the score prediction and a try score any time? What do you reckon for this one?
Oh, look, I think it'll be something like 24-18. As I said, probably 40 plus points scored in the game, 1-12. So Parramatta 1-12. And I think, look, for an anytime try scorer, I think Mike Seaver CommBank Day, and that's probably you would like to think a certainty. I think he scored 41 tries in 43 games or something ridiculous like that. So you'd like to think he's a special for an anytime try. But I wouldn't put it past maybe Bailey Simonson as well, getting across the line anytime as well.
Yeah. Look, I'll say Warriors 26-18. Yeah, I think it'd be I think it'd be high scoring sort of game in regards to points. The Warriors will be happy if it's a dry track because we have obviously struggled in our wet weather footy sort of games. So fingers crossed for that. And it's good for the fans as well if it's dry because you'll see a lot more points and tries and that. So, yeah, I'll go Warriors 26-18 for me. Anytime try scorers. For the Warriors, I'll go DWZ. Dylan Watini-Zelezniak. I seem to can't not back Dylan at the moment. He seems to be doing pretty well to scoring tries. Didn't score last week, but I think he'll score this week. Montoya as well. I think Marcelo Montoya. And for you guys, I'll probably say someone like Sevo, Marcus Sevo. I think he'll score a try. Maybe Palacini as well, who's a very can find the try line that Will Palacini. So yeah, and I'll just go through the comments just quickly. So the close stuff saying you're backing Egan in for an anytime try scorer. Well, that's a very good call. Actually, I like
sneaky one from their behalf, maybe.
Wade Egan, yeah, he's been known to score some tries this year. Egan actually, start of the year when he started the year, he scored a few tries. So he's had a bit of injuries and concussions this year, which has been a bit of a struggle for him to get enough consistent game time there. So yeah, I like it actually. The close stuff there. Backing Egan in for anytime try scorer. So yeah, look, that pretty much wraps it up. Now that's the preview for the Parramatta Eels taking on the New Zealand Warriors down there at CommBank Stadium on Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Australian time. So if you're in New Zealand, check your times there. I believe it's late in the evening over there. So yeah, Troy, I really do appreciate you coming on. Thanks for coming on the channel and giving up your time to chat about the game this week, and all the best for this game, but not too much. But all the best for the rest of the season as well. Thanks, Troy.
Not a problem. Thank you very much for inviting me to come on the show. And may the best team win, and may that be Parramatta.
Yeah, well, Matt, for me, it's pretty much may be the Warriors. So hopefully we get the win because we need the 2 points for sure. But yeah, thanks to everyone for tuning in and interacting in the live chat and giving your comments and questions. It's really appreciated that you guys. It's you guys, it's nothing, isn't it? The channel. So really do appreciate your support and for tuning in as well. Go and check out the Parra Cave podcast. I believe they're everywhere on all platforms. I see you got Apple, Spotify as well. Anywhere else you can find them?
Look, there's a few YouTube videos as well. A little bit slack on the YouTube, but there is some videos there. I try to put some more up there. But yeah, any good podcasting platform. It's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as well. So there's a link there. Scan the QR code there, and you'll be able to find whichever way you want to listen to it.
Awesome stuff. So yeah, go and give them a listen. Highly check it out. Highly recommend you give it a listen. Troy does great work with what he does there with the Parra Cave podcast. He does some great stuff. He interviews players as well, and gets a guest on. So yeah, he does a good job there. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Please, if you haven't done so already, and you're a new viewer to this YouTube channel you're watching, make sure you go and subscribe. Click the subscribe button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and make sure you like this live stream, like the video back if you're watching it back. Comment your feedback and thoughts in the comment section down below. And have a good rest of the week, everyone. And go the Warriors. And looking forward to Saturday evening. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Cheers.